what do we think our sales will be next year? I mean, it's that kind of stuff. That's a common area where people want to be able to use machine learning. So what do we expect the cost to be, or I mean, our sales to be? And then separately also, based upon that sales forecast, what do we think our margin will ultimately be? What will our net income be based on looking at that? So we'll see a lot of people ask questions in that context of how to use machine learning.
Hello, everybody. It's another episode of AI Got This. And today we're going to be talking about predictive analytics, maybe some machine learning, data, how all of this plays together. And we've got some great guests today, Talbot, Harty, and Noah Kluge. And maybe you guys could take a minute and introduce yourselves really quick.
Sure, I'll go first, Noah. I'm Talbot Harty. I'm an Armanino fellow focused on our strategy and transformation services. Been kind of a career technology executive in the Bay Area for most of my career and spent the last 6 years helping Armanino with its strategy and transformation services.
Awesome. No.
All right, cool. Yeah. So my name is Noah Kluge. I've been with Armanino now for 9 years. My role with the firm is as a solution architect to help us to be able to identify solutions to help make life for our clients just a little bit better. And so that's in the context of analytics, of AI, and everything else. So,
yeah. And so, Talbot, you've actually been on some webinars where we've talked about AI and predictive analytics for us in the past, and maybe talk to us a little bit about like how you see analytics playing a role in organizations right now in today's landscape. There's a lot of tools and things to play with. Like, what are you seeing out there?
I see, it's interesting because a lot of people, when you talk about the maturity of data analytics and a lot of people have been historically kind of focusing on rear view mirror reporting. And what I'm seeing now is a real shift, especially I think this is kind of AI is motivating this shift, but a real shift to getting, really caring more about your data, getting that data transformed into something that's going to provide valuable insights for the organization. And a lot of people are talking about trying to get to predictive analytics. What I'm really excited about more than predictive analytics is prescriptive analytics. So for me, bundling AI and analytics together gets you into a situation where you're getting recommended actions that are going to produce certain outcomes. And I think that that's really, really powerful.
So just to make sure that everybody understands, tell us the difference between predictive and prescriptive when you think about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just talk about this from a strategy standpoint, having poured years and years of developing reports for clients and companies and stuff like that. There's a reality that everyone wants new reports, right? And they always want more and more reports. But a lot of times, creating those reports does not necessarily generate the actions that would cause the outcomes of those reports to change. It's almost like reading the newspaper, right? I get the report in the morning, I look at it with my coffee, oh, that's what happened, and then I go on with my day. Predictive analytics is nice because it will tell you what might happen tomorrow, and that might cause you to take a different action to change that outcome. Prescriptive analytics is lining up all the correlation with the analytics to tell you what you need to do to cause the outcome that you're looking for. I love that more because it's action and results oriented.
Yeah, I love that also. I think that's amazing. So Noah, when you think about, you've been in a landscape at Armanino here with us for a long time doing architecting large data warehouses and analytics and all that good stuff. Like, as you're looking at the new technology coming out, what are you seeing in this space, and how are your clients thinking about this?
Yeah, I think that they're looking at a couple of different ways. One is how to make life easier for the developer itself. So Microsoft, with a lot of the Copilot tools, will help you to build code. I mean, and so it gives you a starting point. And so then we have clients who love that. I mean, just a really simple example from last week was we had one of our, or actually 3 people from our team went out to Las Vegas for a conference for Microsoft Fabric, and they would not share their slides. So what they did was that we had a team who was out there. They took pictures of the slides. So now you've got 42 slides as pictures, and then but no real good way to share them. And so how we actually used Copilot, which I thought was brilliant, was they went out and said, okay, well, if I use Python, we use Python for everything. So if I use Python, I could use Python in this case to take these pictures and then move them into a PowerPoint. So they went out and they got like the basic workings of the script through ChatGPT, and were able to run the script, and it took those pictures from their folder and threw them into a PowerPoint presentation. So next thing you know, you've got one single deck with this. And so when you think about it, I mean, it's kind of a silly example. I mean, how often do you really need to do that? But it's a good example because it shows how it's able to save you time. And so that's where I think a lot of our clients find the value in AI, whether it's around taking a good idea and making it better in the form of coding, or also with report development.
Yeah. And I think what we're going to start seeing in the near future, right, is we focus on dashboards and things like that today, and people, we talk about self-serve reporting, and it's a dream that we've all had for years. I mean, Talbot, and for those of you who don't know, Talbot and I have worked together for almost 24 years now. And I mean, we used to talk about self-service reporting back in the day, and thought we were doing some pretty innovative stuff, and turns out we weren't doing that many innovative things, but that's what we can do today. But when you think about really allowing end users to create reports and interact with data that they have in their ecosystem today, that is like, when I think about that's like mind-blowing transformation of how we utilize and look at data today. And I mean, I think we look at chatbots and Copilot or Azure Studio, and how we think about that inside of like a data warehouse or a data lake, structured, unstructured. We'll see where that plays. There's some other new technology coming out that we may not have to be thinking about structured data as much anymore. And so, those kinds of things, I think, are the things that are really pushing people, to your point, Talbot, earlier, to start thinking about the data that they have and how do they access it. And I think one of the things that we're all seeing too, and you guys, I want you to weigh in on this, is we've also been talking about data and data governance for my whole career, but not many people do it really well, right? Or even understand what that really means. Are you guys seeing that more people are talking about that as you're sort of in the marketplace today? And if it's not, if I don't care about structured data or clean data, do I still need data governance? Or like, what is that argument? How do you think about that?
Well, the first thing I would say about that, so we have plugged in to our engagement methodology an element of data strategy. So we have 4 pillars of strategy for our engagements. There's a people element that deals with the change management and adoption requirements and things like that to make sure your project's successful. There's obviously process is the next thing. It's basically designing digital transformation into the process, and then the tech that supports that process. And the last pillar is data. And so the data strategy has become increasingly important over the last couple of years, as especially it's really starting to roll hot right now. Mm-hmm. In that data strategy, data governance is a piece of that, right? And really, the thing that I will say about data is there's no point in time concept of, oh, I now have clean data, because it's a journey and it keeps going. And so it's more of a practice that you have to, it's a process that you have to have in place to maintain data that is going to give you valuable insight, right? Yeah. And it's a moving target that you're constantly needing to take care of in order to harvest the benefits out of it.
Yeah, I was actually talking to somebody the other day and I said, there's two times in your organization's career where you have clean data. The day you start where you don't have any data, and the first time you do an ERP
That's
implementation
right.
because we make you clean it up, right? Unless you
That's
have
right.
a data governance strategy, which again, not everybody has, but yeah, good point.
That's right.
Yeah. Did you have more to add on that before I
Um, no, not really. I'll just hold back and wait for your next question.
Well, you guys can ask me questions too. It's a two-way street. Um, all right. So when I think about like data warehouses and we talked a little bit about the predictive analytics. When we think about machine learning in this process, right, and how that data pays attention and learns and sort of evolves. When you guys think about business like use cases around machine learning, are you seeing those use cases in the marketplace today? I know that I am, but I'd like to hear from like maybe Noah, or you can go first, and then maybe Talbot, about what are our clients saying about machine learning today?
Yeah. So in the context of predictive analytics, so I'll separate that out from bots and all that kind of stuff. We're definitely on the sales side. I mean, what do we think our sales will be next year? I mean, it's that kind of stuff. That's a common area where people want to be able to use machine learning. So what do we expect the cost to be? Or I mean, our sales to be, and then separately also based upon that sales forecast, what do we think our margin will ultimately be? What will our net income be based on looking at that? So we'll see a lot of people ask questions in that context of how to use machine learning to be able to apply their historical information, apply algorithms to their historical information to determine where they think they'll end up. So that's a common area.
Yeah. Talbot, are you seeing anything around machine learning?
I think it's starting to take off. I mean, it's one of those things I think people, there's like the hype. We're kind of getting over the hype cycle and getting into the reality of it. I mean, there's a lot of heavy lifting that people have to do to boost their data quality to really be able to take advantage of this stuff. And the other thing I would say is, where we're headed is the ability to really peel the onion rapidly. And this is, the combination of AI and analytics. I think you and I were talking a couple weeks ago about, well, how do you apply a chatbot to a data warehouse and see what's happening? And my take on that is, I think that would be a really poor experience at the beginning of it, where you're just, you would rather visualize your KPIs and see those. And then you would want to understand and start exploring the why about those, and that why drill down and the crazy questions that you could ask the AI to go explore would be the better experience, right? So it can't be where I'm sitting there watching somebody text in, hey, show me the forecast for next quarter's sales, right? Well,
Right. Or
right?
show me my trial balance. Yeah, exactly.
Right. I can't think of a more painful experience to witness than something like that. But
Yeah.
but I can start asking questions. Well, why was that this way? Right? Like, why did that outcome occur? And you can start digging in and getting really rapid answers to that stuff. And that's where I think marrying those two things together really matters. But again, one of the things that I'm hopeful for actually is the amount of lift that you're having to do to transform the data and flatten it into a series of ones and zeros that a machine can learn from and do the correlation on, to something that may be more unstructured and where we've got data that looks good to us in our typical reports and the way we like to see things broken down, and the machine can now read that the way we do and start working with that versus us having to convert everything so that it can read it. I think that has tremendous promise. It's going to have a lot of overhead, right, in terms of processing, but it could save a huge amount of time and energy.
Yeah, and I think that's coming, right? And I think, we're certainly seeing it trending that way, that we're going to see more and more sort of human consumable reporting and data that gets absorbed and is easily used by the AI. So that's interesting. So it's interesting also, and sorry, go ahead, Noah. I'll ask this
I was
question.
going to say, yeah, just one thought that I kind of had on this space was that I often will talk about, Fabric and Copilot and the new things there that are coming out. I mean, which do allow for you to build dashboards based on data that is stored within a data warehouse environment. So if you've already got the data, it's already cleaned up. It's a way to do it. But one thing that we've also been exploring is what I describe as a poor man's AI, which is using natural language processing within Power BI to be able to build those dashboards. Now, if you go out and you try to do it right out of the gate, it's going to be an absolutely horrible experience. But if you put a little bit of effort into it and you set up some synonyms behind the scenes, synonyms help you to describe in English what you're looking for. And then, so like if you have a field that says amount, but you actually in your vernacular call it sales, you can do that cross-reference. And so then it allows for Power BI to know when you put in sales, what you actually mean from a data standpoint is an amount. And so then it allows for you to start to build the dashboards using natural query language. And it, it's an alternative to Fabric and Copilot that's more affordable for a lot of companies. And it does give you kind of that experience what Talbot was talking about just being able to ask it in normal language, not how the computer wants it.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're seeing that all over the place from a user-friendly perspective, where I may not need a developer to do some of this stuff on the front end side of that. I think there's still a lot of back end development in some of these processes that has to happen, which is, good for developers, I suppose. But even
that's why I love the ability to write code with GPT. I mean, it allows for you to be faster with it, and that's why I was so excited to even lead off with that. Kind of an odd thing to lead off with, but I think it is. The idea that programmers are going to go away is crazy. It's not going to happen. But it's how do you make them more efficient, and that's where tools like this come into play too.
Well, I'll actually quote somebody that I was sitting with today, and he's using somebody else's quote, but that's okay. It was basically, AI is not going to replace me, but someone who knows AI is going to, right? So someone who can manage the AI is going to replace me. And so I think that's the message is, sort of, we're all going to be AI enabled, and by all, I do mean all eventually, right? We're getting to that place where it's happening. And I mean, even if you think about the evolution of this podcast, we started with sort of the basic chatbot, large language model, public spaces. We moved into sort of RPA, which even some people would say maybe isn't true AI. And now we're sort of talking about predictive analytics and machine learning. And so, I think from a maturity level, is that sort of the AI maturity level that you guys are also sort of seeing in the marketplace, where you sort of start off playing around with ChatGPT and getting to predictive analytics is a bigger lift?
Yeah. So we're doing a lot of AI strategy workshops. This is kind of catching on like wildfire, where people are like, hey, come work with us and let's do some design thinking and get in the room and figure out, what do we need to be focused on? Of all the things that we can do with AI, where should we start? Can we get a roadmap in place, et cetera? Actually, I think where, the majority of our clients will and probably should start is with the third party out of the box AI enablement that they're getting from their solutions that are coming. Okay. So rather than them building something, there's a lot of good technology. I mean, Copilot's getting stuffed into D365 and all kinds of other things like that, and Microsoft applications all over the place as an example. But so is Salesforce, so are everybody else. Even Mural's got AI stuff in it now. It needs work, but it's there. And I would say that's where I think the starting step is, right? And then from what's good about that is that you can also parlay that into the generative AI and take advantage of that. I view that more of a, like, how do you become a conductor of an orchestra? It's kind of neat. I mean, if I look at my daily work now, I've probably got 7 different forms of AI, helpers working with me now. Where, there's writers, and there's creative design, there's programmer stuff, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do.
Yeah.
And so you're really getting boosted all over the place when you're doing this stuff. And it's really, it can be really, really powerful. But that would be like the second step, is getting yourself into that conductor mode. Okay. Because then it's, you become, I don't want to say cyborg, but you know what I mean, like work cyborg. And then I think that gives you the time and energy to develop the longer term data strategy, data maturity, and get yourself into the things that you can do, which are going to add competitive differentiation for your company. So there are investments that you will want to make in building things.
Yep.
But they will typically be the things that you want to focus on that are going to provide you a competitive advantage strategically in the industry. And so those bets you can make. But again, like when we're talking about analytics, I always say there's 4 things. There's 4 reasons why you would want to do anything with, analytics and reporting and so forth. And you really need to start with the questions that you want answers to. And then you got to look at those 4 benefits. Am I going to get these benefits? So benefit number 1 is efficiency. Can I get to answers quicker with less effort? Okay. Precision. Do I get more accurate answers? Speed. Am I going to get faster answers to time sensitive questions? And you really need to make sure that those questions are time sensitive, right? If I can wait till tomorrow and it has no outcome and I'm not going to take any action, don't make me try to get a real-time KPI in place, right? It's just, that's a diminishing returns exercise from an investment standpoint. And then understanding, can I get answers to new questions that matter to my business? So those 4 benefits right there are really the only reasons that I can think of to get an initiative going on a particular, data analytics project. And if you skip those, and it just all becomes around, can I amass this grand total of data in this huge data lake or warehouse so that in the event that I come up with a question, I will be able to get the answer to it. That is not a really sound, technology investment strategy to me.
Yeah, I would agree with you. And I also think that, understanding what you're trying to get out of that data, to your point, is priority number 1. And that's how you should be starting any of your analytic endeavors. And it will really drive how you look at the data. And even if you're only trying to answer one question at the beginning, let's go find that data and understand what data you need for that. And let's go solve that question and understand the answer to that question. And then you can move on to a broader scope, right? So if you think about that in that way. So, okay. So we're almost at time, but, and I think we might be a little bit over this time, but any parting words for folks as we sort of sign off here from an analytics perspective that either of you want to share?
Noah?
I think what Talbot shared on, just use what's available to you today. I mean, what a great way to get started. I mean, it seems so obvious, but it's a great way to get started. Just use what's available from your vendors today. Yeah.
Agreed. Talbot?
I would say if you want to be a leader, get moving. That's what I would say, because this is starting to it's starting to get hot, and people are starting to actually, I'm starting to see now people's initial POCs, and they're really starting to figure out what they need to do now to make it have impact to their business, and that's starting to really get traction. So I would say, towards the latter half of this year, people are going to start getting really, really valuable results out of their early initiatives.
Yeah. And I mean, I think, we started saying this last year around, as, ChatGPT and the large language models came into the public purview, is it's time to get on. We've all been talking about AI for a very long time. It's not new technology. It's become technology that we can all use now, though, right? Where before it was sort of an elite thing and you had to have millions of dollars to do that. It is now accessible. It's now available. And now's the time to start taking advantage of it, or you'll get left behind. And so I think that's super important. Well, listen, thank you both for being here with me today. Super appreciate it. Next time on AI Got This, we're going to be talking about AI in healthcare. And the impact that AI is having in the healthcare space. So look forward to talking to you guys again soon. Thank you so much. Have a good day, everybody.
Bye-bye.